What is up? Welcome back to the Content Marketing Hacks podcast. My name is Ashraf. I am so glad to have you here. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about how to use storytelling that triggers people to buy, right? Okay, so maybe not many people know about how to use storytelling and how to tell stories that makes people buy. There's a difference between storytelling that inspire people and storytelling that sells, right? I remember when I was a kid, I used to tell my parents to tell me some stories before I go to bed. And that story was really good. But that story is designed to make people sleep, right? It's not designed to make people buy, right? It'd be weird to feel like, hey mom, that unicorn sounds good. I want to buy that unicorn, right? No, you don't say that when you heard the story. Right, you just want to sleep. So anyway, in this episode, I'm going to talk about how to use storytelling that triggers people to buy. Okay, so there are frameworks that you have to follow in order to make this work. Okay, and the best part is these storytelling frameworks can work for any kind of business, any kinds. Okay, it's really any kind. So before we begin here, make sure to subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, because when you do that, when you click that subscribe button or follow button, you will discover more about how to use content marketing to your business, how to sell through content, how to craft the storytelling, how to craft a content so that you can sell any of the things that you are going to sell, okay? Alright, so click that subscribe button or follow button, right? Alright, let's begin. So, here are the biggest questions when it comes to content marketing. Why does the content that gets tons of likes and comments does not make more money than the one with a few likes? And why do some influencers with more than 10,000 followers are still broke, while the ones with a few hundreds only make a fortune? And how come the content that is so good still cannot convince people to buy while the simplest one can? Well, today, people are obsessed with the number of followers, likes and comments whenever they put out content. And the truth is, those things are what makes people broke. So how do these successful marketers create content that generates money? Those are the questions, and on this podcast, you'll find the answers. I'm your host, Ashraf, and you're listening to Content Marketing Hacks. Welcome back to the Content Marketing Hacks podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Ashraf. So I have a story to tell you. 2 years ago, I joined the One Funnel Way Challenge course. So if you're not familiar with that course, it's basically the 30 days challenge where you have to build a funnel and launch it so that you can sell anything, right? So I enrolled in that course, and that was the first time I got into the funnel building, into the online business. So, one of the sessions, there's a session that was about storytelling, okay? And one of the coach that teach that, his name is Steve Larsen. He told a story on how one book changed his life. I would love to talk about his story, but his story is a little bit too long, so I'm not going to tell it here, okay? It's kind of long, and I need to set the emotion up. So, just long story short, the book that he told us, is called The Fake Book Story. And yes, it was fake. The story was fake. I was so shocked at that time that the story was fake. And even though it was fake, it was meant to showcase how powerful the story can be. I mean, if you want to know about the story, you can just search it up on Google. It's called Fake Book Story by Steve Larsen. And you can model that story and use it in your content to make sales. I'm not kidding. You can literally model it and make sales, because it literally make people want to buy after Steve told that story to us. Okay. So anyway, at that time, I didn't know how stories can be useful to sell stuff. But after he told me that the whole story was fake, I was literally blown away. Like, oh my gosh, did you just tell me that story was fake? Like, the structure of the story was so good that I was literally feel like, okay, I want to buy that. Okay, that story triggered me to buy that book, even though the cover of the book looked terrible, right? The cover of the book looked terrible. It was not beautiful, and even though I didn't know what's inside the book, I don't know what chapter in the book, I didn't know anything about the book, but but because how Steve told us how the book changed his life, I literally want to buy it because I also want to change my life, right? But thankfully, I didn't have any money at that time, so I didn't buy it. So I kind of saved my money there. But there was a guy who bought that because he told us that there was a lot of people that buy it, and he didn't feel sorry about it because because that story can teach people why they buy that stuff, right? So anyway, after he told us the story, he told us how stories can add a perceived value to something, right? There's a reason why it's called perceived value. Perceived value means, it's not actually the value, but people see it as something more valuable. So, what I mean by that is, the book is not that expensive. It's only like $20 or something, right? It's only like $20. But because there's a story that's connected to the book, it can be seen as something valuable, right? Because when there's a story, there's an emotion. And no matter how cheap something is, if there's a story behind it, it'll be more valuable, right? And, you can make anything valuable. That $20 book can be seen as maybe $100 or maybe $1,000, right? So a story can really make something valuable. You can literally plug in a story on a pen or on a tissue paper, right? And people will keep it for real, will keep it for long enough, or maybe don't want to toast it out, right? So anyway, since this episode is about how to make storytelling that triggers people to buy, so how can you use story in your content, right? So you can tell a lot of stories, but which kind of story can make people buy? So I got this from a book, and not just one book, but multiple books. You can find a lot of books that teach about storytelling that sells. So some of them that I can recommend are Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, and another one is Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards, and another one is Expert Secret by Russell Brunson. Yeah, those books are really good at teaching you how to storytelling, right? How to use storytelling in your business, how to craft a storytelling. That's it's really good. Okay, there's a lot more actually, but these books are the ones that introduced me to storytelling. So go check that out. So what I'm about to share with you is the compilation of all the formulas that's been shared out there to this one specific method. Okay, so this method, this formula is basically the formula of an Oscar movie, right? Or any successful movie that you have ever seen, because they all follow this one formula. And it has this formula, so I really encourage you to use this carefully, and please take notes of this. Please grab a pen, grab a paper, grab a notebook, and take notes, okay? And if you are driving, so just keep driving, okay? Hopefully, just keep driving. You can take notes after you arrive at your place. But let's dive into it. So, how to craft a story that makes people buy? First off, you have to start a story as someone people can relate to, okay? Because if you start a story like a hero, people can't relate to, and if people can't relate to, they will not follow the story, right? So if you look at any movie, you can see it as someone who is doing a daily life basis, right? They are doing literally what we are doing, right? Like reading or eating, right? So make something, you have to start your story as something people can relate to, okay? So that's the first one. So, and the next one is you need a purpose. That story needs a purpose. The character in the story must have a purpose. Why the story exists, okay? What does this character want to get at the end of the movie? So, do they want to win something, right? Do they want to have this better life relationship, right? So what this character wants at the end of the movie, or what does this character want at the start of the movie? So anything, any purpose that is being thrown in the story, you have to put it there so that people know what kind of goals do they want, right? Because if there is no goal, people might not watch the movie because, what else do they want, right? So anyway, and the third one is you need a villain. A villain is something that's the character is struggling, right? Maybe the villain can be about anything. It's not just a villain. It's not about the character of a villain. It's more likely a struggle that the character is facing, and it's something. It can be something like maybe this character is afraid of public speaking. Maybe this character is afraid of getting a date with people, right? Getting a date with a person that they love. It can be something else, right? It doesn't have to be a villain, a literally villain, right? So, I mean, if you look at the relationship movie, there is no villain, right? The only villain is that maybe this character wants to get a date with a girl, right? Or maybe a boy. So, yeah, a villain is a struggle. So, the next one is the character in the story must fail when facing the villain, right? It must fail. The character must fail first. It cannot succeed, because if they succeed at the beginning of the movie, the story will be boring, right? And this is what makes people understand the character, that this character cannot win because the character doesn't have the right skill. They need to have the right skill first in order to beat the villain, right? So, and then after that, the character found a hero, and this hero could be a coach or a product, right? It's either of them. So this hero might be, something that the character wants to be, right? Or wants to have, right? So the hero is anything too. It can be a coach, it can be a people, it can be a product. So is something that the hero should have the characteristic of someone that the character wants to achieve. Does that make sense? Right? Or hopefully it does make sense. So, and then after that, finally, the character succeed. Yay! Right? The character succeed after fighting the villain. And then, after finding the hero must help them. The hero must help the character in fighting the villain, right? And then after that, the character succeed. Yay! Right? After learning a lot of things, after facing a lot of struggles, the character must succeed at the end, right? It must lead to a happy ending so that people know that it's possible. It's possible to succeed if they use the product or skill that the character was using to overcome the struggle. So, yeah. So you need a happy ending. do not tell a bad ending, right? So anyway, that's the formula that a lot of movies are using, right? If you look at a lot of Oscar movie, they basically have this formula, or maybe a movie that you really like. And if you look deeper at that story, you basically can find all this formula inside the story. There's a character, there's a hero, there's a villain, there's a failure. So yeah, that's a formula. Now, how can you apply this into your content? Right? Because we don't just want to make movies, we want to make content that sells, right? Or, you can find it in a box office movie, right? So a lot of box office movie have this formula, okay? Now, how can you apply this to your content, right? Because we don't want to apply this to make movies. We want to apply this to make our content so that it can sell to our customers, right? So we don't want to make movies, we just want to make content, right? We are a content marketer, not just a content creator, okay? So how can we apply this? First, the character in the story should not just be about you. It should be directed to your customers and make them feel like they are the character. Does that make sense? I mean, the story is about you, but it should be directed to your customers and make them feel like they are the character. Okay, I repeated myself here, but that's basically what it is. You have to make a story relatable to your customers so that they can feel like they are in the story. They are the character in the story, right? Even though the story is about you, I know it sounds weird, right? But you have to understand, they are also facing the same challenges, right? And this is how you can relate to the customers. Your struggles can make them feel relatable, and yeah, and then talk about the goals that your customers are craving to get. I mean, like, what do they actually want? Do they want to make 10K per month as an affiliate marketer, or as a drop shipper, right? As a course creator, do they want to make 10K per month? Do they want to get 6-pack abs, or maybe just a good body shape, right? Maybe there's some muscle in there, and maybe there's a bicep here and there, right? Do they want that kind of that kind of result? Or maybe they just want a good relationship with their family, with their spouse, with their kids, right? They just want to live happily, right? They just want to take vacation and, spend time with their families. So is that what they want, right? You have to talk about the goals. You have to make the character want to achieve that goal, and then talk about the villain. So this is when you have to mention about what kind of struggle the character is facing, right? The villain could be the struggle. It doesn't have to be a literal villain. It just have to be a struggle, right? Like I mentioned earlier. So imagine they have tried multiple things to solve the problems, but they still couldn't achieve it, but still fail, right? They have tried this and tried that, and they still fail. So you have to identify what's the thing that they are lacking, what's stopping them to achieve those things, right? What's stopping them, what holds them back, what do they need in order to defeat the villain, to overcome the struggles, to overcome challenges, right? And then enter the hero. So the hero is you, okay? It's you. The hero should be you. Yes, you. So you should be, you are the one who should be the guidance here. Even though the story is about you, but the guidance is still you, but a pro version of yourself. I mean, this kind of version should be someone who already overcome the challenges, who already master the things that you want to master, right? So talk about how the hero helps the character. What kind of training does the character have to go through? How many hours do they spend? How many failed attempts have they done, right? So this is basically like a training montage where you see the character do all these kinds of training, from being bad to being a master, right? You can look at movie Karate Kid, for example, the one with Jackie Chan, right? There are a lot of movies about Karate Kid. So the one with Jackie Chan, where there's a scene of a training montage, you can see that it is really great. Okay, it was really great. And another example I could give is the Kung Fu Panda, right? The Kung Fu Panda. So yeah, you can literally see that, and you can see how the character overcomes the challenges from being bad to being a master, right? And then lastly, after the character going through all those trainings, the character finally achieves that goals, right? They have done this and that, they've done that, and then finally they use that skills to defeat the villain, right? And then yay, happy ending. And after you tell this story, you can basically make an offer and your customers will be happy to pay you. And if you target the right emotion, you can turn any stories into sales. Whoa, right? You can turn any story into sales if you have the right story, if you have the right villain, and also if you target the right emotion. Okay, what I mean by emotion is that the kind of emotion like happy, anger, sad, depressed, right? So you want to include that too. And if you like to know how all these top marketers are turning their content into a sales machine, I've compiled a step-by-step process on how to do that, how to turn your content into a sales machine, how to make people buy from you even though they just stumble across you, right? If you want to have that kind of process, that step-by-step process, you can grab my content marketing blueprint at bit.ly/CM hacks. That's bit.ly/CM hacks. And if you don't know the spelling, the link is in the description below. Okay. So yeah. Okay. This blueprint will help you turn your content into a sales machine. Okay. So go grab it. And if you want to discover more about that, yeah, that's the CTA for now. Okay. Always remember that do not be a content creator, but be a content marketer, because that's how you make money. If you want to get people to buy your offer, no matter how much it costs, keep listening. The reason why entrepreneurs could not sell their offer is because they target the wrong customer. And even if they get it right, they still don't know how to sell it, right? So I put together an ebook. It shows you a step-by-step process on how to target the right customer, create a sales message to attract them, and get them to buy your stuff. Amazing, right? So if this is something you are looking for, you can grab it at bit.ly/perfect client ebook. Again, that's bit.ly/perfect client ebook. And if you don't know spelling, the link is in the description below. Grab it now.